From headlines to heartbeats, this is More Than News with Kris Moore. Buckle up for a journey beyond the surface, where we uncover the real stories shaping our world.
Hey there, it's Kris Moore with More Than News, and we are starting a brand new shiny year, 2025. And I know some people have had wonderful past couple of years. Some folks, not so much, but I think everybody's kind of excited for 2025 and trying to figure out what is going to happen in this new year. Well, I brought in an expert, good friend of mine, Maria Shaw, astrologer, psychic, author, so much more, just a wonderful human being. Hey there, how are you?
I am wonderful, Kris. Happy New Year. It's so good to see you.
Happy New Year to you. Maria's actually in New Orleans, and we're going to address that here in just a moment. But Maria, I'd like for you to tell everybody a little bit about you. I kind of touched on some of the many, many acclimates, but you do have quite a few. So please introduce yourself.
Well, again, I'm Maria Shaw. I'm a professional astrologer and psychic medium, and I live here in New Orleans, right here in the French Quarter, the scene of everything. And I've been doing this for about 30 years. I've been doing astrology charts on everybody from the average Joe to big celebrities. I still am penning the column after 20 years for the National Enquirer, the horoscope column. I've written for tons and tons of magazines. I have about 11 books out, published in 9 languages. I've been on 90 Day Fiancé, which is my favorite TV show, season 8. I've done a lot of television. I was a host for the TV Guide channel with all the horoscopes every week. So been around the block a couple times, had a lot of fun. Of course, been on Kris's show many times.
Yes. Everybody loves you. They adore you.
Thank you.
You're really so on point. And we're going to kind of get into that, how you got started and everything, because people have mixed feelings about astrology and being a psychic and so forth. But before we kind of hit on all of that, how did you become an astrologer? And I know there's got to be a story behind becoming a psychic.
There is. I never in my wildest dreams envisioned that I would be doing this. I actually did the same type of work that you did. I was a television news anchor and reporter for many years, a radio disc jockey. I've worked for CBS Network, did a lot of news reporting over the years. And when I was in my 20s, I ended up meeting my biological mother, who was a real estate executive by day and an astrologer by night. And she read my chart and said, you'd be real psychic. You'd be really good at this. You ought to do this. So we went to this church that we're doing readings, psychic readings, 3 for $10, just for something fun to do.
Right.
And the lady told me, oh, no, you're not going to get the 6 o'clock news position, because I was up for anchoring the 6 o'clock because I was just doing the mornings. Mm-hmm. And she said, you're going to become a world famous psychic and everybody around the country is going to love you. Well, I was mad. I left that pew, left that church, and I told my mom, and she said, well, not everybody's always right.
Right.
Well, lo and behold, I couldn't get a job in one of the markets I had moved to quickly, and I was very impatient. So I just put up a sign thinking this was going to be part-time, because my mom taught me how to do tarot and astrology, and I advertised psychic readings. And I think when you're on the right path, there's a domino effect. I was booked a year in advance. I got an agent in Hollywood who got me on all these TV shows and all these gigs and national tours. And it was a domino effect. And now here I am, almost 3 decades later, still doing it. And I don't think I would go back. I mean, I can still combine my media background with my, astrology, like being on your shows and things like that and enjoying that. But I love what I do.
Well, and again, you're very good at it. I get a reading from Maria almost every year for sure, to kind of find out which path I'm on and what's might happen, could happen. I just did it a few weeks ago. So, like I said at the beginning, 2024 been a little rocky, but you told me earlier there was a reason. So why don't you walk us through a little bit about 2024 and what might happen in 2025?
Well, 2024, we had a lot of heavy planetary energy. The Sagittarius, as yourself, the Geminis, the Virgos, the Pisces, they were going through some heavy Saturn transits. And Saturn is a very karmic planet. It makes you work hard for everything. It's like test after test after test.
Yes.
Then we had Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, and Libra going through a lot of stuff because we had a Pluto transit. And Pluto is the planet of power struggles and endings and death and rebirth. And as a matter of fact, our country, which is born on July 4th, 1776, is a Cancer, right? Born under the sign of Cancer. So its influence has been very difficult under this Pluto transit. So since 2008 up until November of last year, those 4 signs have had a lot of challenges. So 8 out of the 12 signs have had one problem or one issue after another. And that a lot of that is calming down because we have a lot of the planets changing signs. And when they go from one planetary energy to the next, there's going to be a relief, especially for the Sagittarius and the Geminis and the Virgos and the Capricorn. So we're going to see some other signs maybe have to struggle, but a lot of those signs I mentioned are actually going to have a much easier time.
And everybody's going, yay.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. So that kind of gives you a history from 2008 moving up to 2024. But now we're into 2025. What you said it's going to be easier, kind of define that. But before we really get too deep into it, of course, you had the terrorist attack there in New Orleans. Thank goodness you're safe. And it was just tragic.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're going to see a lot of during the year 2025? Or do you think that was just kind of a fluke at the beginning of the year?
No, I think we're going to see more, and I'll explain why. But some of the signs are going to be doing better. Some of the signs, not so much. But as a whole, 2025, when you look at the numerology and you reduce 2025 down to a single digit, is a 9. And 9 is a karmic number. So we're going to see a lot of endings. But with endings come new beginnings. We're going to see people from our past come back into our lives. We're going to have second chances at things. But people usually don't like endings and change unless they're in control of it. And in 2025, we're going to see a lot of endings. But 25 being a karmic year, right out of the box, as soon as 25 hit, what's happening? We're having all this crazy stuff coming up. So a lot of this can be retaliation for people that have felt they've done wrong. A lot of this could be crazy belief systems. A lot of this can be, cause and effect from karma. So we're going to see, I believe we're going to see a lot of crazy stuff in the new year, especially around April through September. Also because Mars, which is the ruler of Aries, which is the god of war, we have some planets that are going to be interacting with the planet Mars. I talk a lot about this in my 2-hour forecast. I'm not going to say there's going to be war in this country, but the potential for war is there, violence, more aggression, things like that, because of Saturn going into the sign of Aries. We have Uranus changing signs, which is sudden and unexpected chaos. We have Mars retrograde right now in the sign of Leo. So there's so much happening in the skies right now, and 4 to 5 planets changing signs early on. And then when there's shifts, there's always chaos. And then things settle down. So I think we're still going to have some challenges, especially between now and the election.
Okay, here we go. What about our new president, Donald Trump? He's walking into 4 years. Again, that's been very difficult. We've seen our economy. I can make a list of things that have caused ripples through his presidency. So how is that going to affect the new president moving in?
Well, you're looking at Donald Trump being a whole different energy than President Biden. Donald Trump is a Gemini. He has a Leo rising sign. We all have 3 signs in astrology. His moon's in Sagittarius. So he has a mixture of air and fire. President Biden is a Scorpio, which is water. So they're going to run things quite differently. I believe because Geminis, they are multitaskers. They are people that like to get things done very, very quickly.
Mhm.
And I feel like that he's going to come in and do things like right away. There's going to be a multitude of changes. I did predict last July that he had to be very careful that there could be an assassination attempt, and there
Yes, you did.
was.
Yes, you
I
did.
also predicted that President Biden was going to step down from running. And I actually predicted the date that he was going to do it, which was on a Sunday. And nobody really makes big decisions on Sundays, but he did. I am still predicting that President Trump has got to be extremely careful between now and the inauguration day. January 3rd comes to mind as being a hard aspect for him. Also around the 11th. But I'm very concerned because the fact that I read something the other day that he's holding some big event in Washington, D.C. at a big event center open to the public the day before the inauguration. I just feel like sometimes he must not have an astrologer. It's almost like he's sitting duck out there. I don't think people are done. Some of these crazies out there are done with their attacks against him. I'm very worried. But we saw in front of the Trump Hotel
Mhm.
yesterday.
I
You
was
know,
going to ask you
oh,
about the
yeah.
Tesla blowing up.
Right. So I think we're going to have a lot of copycat type things. So I'm just telling everybody to be, very, very cautious, stay away from big events between now and maybe the end of the month. We have the Sugar Bowl here. It was moved from yesterday to today. We have Super Bowl coming up. We have Mardi Gras coming up. But right now, as of today, I think that New Orleans is probably the safest place to be because the FBI, CIA, tons
They're
of
all
cops
there.
are here. Everywhere you go, I mean, nobody can get away with anything. The criminals have left. I'm saying it's very, very safe right now. But I think that when President Trump comes in, we're going to see a lot of major changes. I see a lot of deportations happening in the summer months. So I think that when he gets all the legalities figured out, I think his team will probably see mass deportations in the summer. I also feel that our economy is going to go back up. And I do feel like there are some prices, grocery store prices, gas prices will go down. Not all at once, though. I feel
Of
it'll
course.
be, slowly over a period of time. Stock market will be up and down, but we can expect some big highs too.
Well, that was my next question because that's something that, has affected a lot of people is the economy because everything is so expensive. We know the Fed's dropped the interest rate just a smidge and it was more for show. In actuality, it's not going to make any kind of a difference. So as you're going into 2025, everybody's wanting things to go back to the way they were 8 years ago, and so hopefully
Prices may not get that low, but I think they're at least headed in the right direction. I am predicting, because the real estate market has been flat in a lot of places around the country. I am predicting that home sales are going to go back up after June 9th, and they may stay strong for most of a year. So if you are thinking about purchasing a home, that may be a good time or put your house on the market. I think that's probably when we'll see some interest rates go down, and that's probably part of the spur. But I think it's in from an astrological standpoint, it's because the lucky planet Jupiter is moving into the sign of Cancer, which represents home and family. Now, remember, our country is July 4th. We're a Cancer, so
yes.
when Jupiter goes into the sign of Cancer, whatever is a Cancer expands and grows. So I feel pretty confident that our country slowly is going to get back on track between this June and June 30th of 26.
Well,
Everything's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be better.
If you're just joining us, Maria Shaw, a world-renowned astrologist, psychic, and author and columnist and so much more, kind of getting us an update on what to expect in 2025. What about in the job market? Because we have seen so many people that there's just not any jobs. It's very difficult. And now we've got AI coming up, which I think is going to really affect a lot of positions. What are your feelings on that?
Well, we have moved from a manufacturing industry to, technology information, and that we'll continue to see that until about 2044 in a big way. It's going to blow your mind. You could
Right.
never imagine what AI and what technology is going to be like in the next 5, 10, 15, even 20 years. We're in this Pluto cycle in Aquarius now, which rules the internet, technology, etc. So we're going to see some things we could never imagine. But I do think that AI, even though there's a lot of benefits to it, it is something we need to be cautious, concerned about. And I do feel like, getting back to your question about the jobs, there's going to be a lot of people moving with it and setting up homes in new places. People moving out of places where they can't find quality work or enough money, and moving to other places around the country that would support them. So I think we're going to see a lot of mass migration, deportation. I mean, we get so much movement in 25, 26 happening, I believe. There will be pockets of the country that'll do really well, but I think some of the industries that are going to grow are going to be education, writing, communications, of course, technology, anything to do with children's industries, because the Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini, which rules communications and children. So and travel, short distance travel is going to be favored. I don't know how much you've traveled in the last couple months, but you would think if people were broke, they wouldn't be traveling so much. I can't even get a seat. I can't even get upgraded on anything. It's amazing. The hotels are all sold out. I was in New York before Christmas, which is always a lot of fun, but you can't get around anywhere. Everybody was in New York City before Christmas. Um,
Really?
yeah, I was really surprised. I was there twice. I went the day after Thanksgiving, packed, and then I went from the 19th through the 22nd, and all the flights were just oversold. My hotel, I had to call the manager of the hotel to put me on a wait list, and at the last minute, he was able to get me a room, for the 4 days or whatever. But yeah, everybody's traveling. That's going to be a big thing, especially February through June. And then from June onward, I think the industry is going to change, where we're going to see a lot of more real estate, anything to do with building, real estate, that type of thing. Maybe also some new restaurants will come up. Food industry is going to increase. I'm very excited about RFK Jr.'s plan.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness. As am
because
I.
yeah, I mean, you've been to Europe. You know that when you go over there, you eat whatever you want and you lose weight. There's no preservatives in the food. I don't know if he's going to have a real good time against the lobby, with the lobbyists and the pharmaceutical
Going to be a
companies.
struggle at the beginning.
But I think he can give us options. So maybe we'll have more choices. Maybe
There you
that's how it'll pan out. And I think that's so important, because I look at food as medicine. The poison that we've been ingesting in our systems, especially since the 80s, early 90s, and the kids today with all the challenges, it's not just because I think some of the vaccines, I think it has to do with the food that they're ingesting. So I think that's one good thing I'm looking forward to from June onward. So those are some of the highlights, some of the good things. And the Cancers are going to do very good June onward. The Geminis are going to do very good the first 6 months of the year. So will fellow air signs, like the Libras, the Aquarians, the Geminis, first 6 months. Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, the last 6 months of the year. Those will be the signs that you'll want to beat. They're going to do good.
Okay. And my biggest question is, there has been so much stress in our society, and a lot of I'm trying to be kind here, people being unkind to, whether it's neighbors or family members, or I think it's just because of the stress. Do you feel like maybe some of that is going to settle in 2025?
I do, but again, closer to the middle of the year. And I think that's because when we have more money to work with, money is the number one stressor in marriages, in our lives. So when we have a little bit more money to work with, and we don't have to choose between, should I buy, my medicine? Should I pay my house insurance, or should I treat my family to dinner? All these little things, you work so hard. So I think we'll be a little bit less stressed when our finances are better. And I would expect that anytime after June.
Okay, let's kind of do a wrap up on an overview of the year real quick, like positive, maybe some negatives, but what do you see?
Okay, well, I would say that we all have new opportunities coming up as early as January 11th because we have the nodes, the karmic nodes of fate changing signs, and
Okay.
people are going to be more kinder and compassionate. Maybe starting as early as this January and for about 18.9 months. There's an energy shift. Also, the wonderful thing that I do want to share, I don't want to get it too off track, but the frequency of the earth is changing. And this is scientific. The frequency of the earth was at 7.8 hertz for many, many years. The scientists have recently measured it, and now it's at 11 and growing. So when the frequency rises, people's attitude rises, their vibration. There's more light on the earth than going to be darkness. And we're going to see a lot of people standing up for themselves more this year, not putting up with crap. People for many years have just sat there and bitch. Well, why doesn't somebody do something about this? Why doesn't somebody change this? Now people are standing up and taking action. And there's a lot of influencers that are going to be cast by the wayside. Pluto in Aquarius does not like celebrities. It likes the common man. Oh, we are starting this year, and over the course of several years, the power is going to be put back in the hands of the people. Our constitution will likely change. Our political climate is going to change. Our economy is going to change. This is just the start of many-year cycle, but at least we're starting this year. So the power eventually will be put back in the hands of the people. And I think the Kardashians are on their way out. Whether you
Thank
love them,
goodness. Thank goodness. I think they were the beginning of the destruction of so much and the whole agenda they pushed. Now then, let's talk about Maria. So Maria is on social media. Maria is on website. She's got books. She will do personal readings. Walk them through what all is available if they're wanting to know more about you, find out what your predictions are from the past to the future.
Well, thank you. Yes, you can go to mariashaw.com and you can book a reading there. You can order astrology reports. Right now, we have a 50% off all of astrology and metaphysical reports for the new year. And my readings are half hour, 15-minute, hour readings. What I'll do is I'll do your astrology for the year. We'll cover 12 areas of your life. We'll also talk about your past lives, who you have karmic connections with, what your soul purpose is. We'll do a lot of intuitive. If there's somebody you'd like to connect with from the other side, we can do that. But I would also encourage everyone to sign up for my free newsletter. It's called Star Sculpts. It comes out twice a week. It's absolutely free, and it gives you kind of like a forecast for the week ahead, as well as the lucky birthdays. And in addition to that, I always include 5 or 6 free psychic messages for people. I just put their first name and whatever the psychic message is. But I would definitely sign up for that and then see where I'm going to be around the country, because I am going to be in North Carolina next weekend. I'll be in Minneapolis next month. And so I do travel and teach classes and do events as well.
And I've already got friends that are just waiting for this podcast to get finished, and they're wanting to contact you. So I'll send you their information after we're done here. But you really do make a difference. And I love the way that it is very spiritual. So don't think this is, black magic or something. This is, she does such a wonderful job. And I love and appreciate the positivity, even when it might not be as positive as you would want. You're still able to guide people to their very best life. So
I always look at it, Kris, is like when bad things happen or challenging things happen, rather than saying, why is this happening to me? Stop and think about it from a spiritual perspective, because God doesn't put anything by accident in our path. And I feel like a lot of the challenges we have are to help us grow. So you want to ask yourself, why is this happening for me, not to me? Because there's always a reason. There's always something to help push you or to learn a lesson or to finish some karma. And people don't always look at it from that perspective.
No, and it's difficult. It's difficult sometimes. And I love your perspective. As I said, yeah, you share the truth, but you share it in such a wonderful way. And I appreciate you. And I know all the folks that follow you do. But again, what is your website and how can they get a hold of you? Just one more time.
mariashaw.com. And you can also follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. French Quarter Media, Maria Shaw on Facebook. And all that information, again, is on my website. But thanks for allowing me to do this. I had a fun time.
Oh, we'll do it again. You know we will. And all the information, I'm going to make sure and have it listed down here in the description. So if you're trying to jot it down, it'll also be available down there. Maria, have a blessed 2025. Again, thank you for everything you do, and thank you for taking some time for us. Stay safe out there.
I will. Happy New Year, Kris. Thanks for being my friend.
Happy New Year. Well, that does it for this episode of More Than News. Of course, it's available on all your favorite podcasts. It's over on YouTube, Rumble. And if you're watching it or listening, be sure and hit that like and subscribe button. And we'll see you next time. I'm Kris Moore and More Than News.
You've been listening to More Than News with Kris Moore. Join us next time as we continue to dig deeper, ask tougher questions, and bring you the insights that truly matter.